Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Sarah and I make videos about movies, vintage shopping, and running an online store. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about a movie I'm very excited about. It's called Come True, and it's an indie science fiction horror kind of film. And I mean that. I don't mean like, I feel like this is one of those rare movies that is 50-50. 50-50 horror and science fiction. Some movies are more like 20/80. This is one of those where I feel like it has a very even, balanced amount of both elements. Come True is about a young woman whose name is Sarah, who is homeless, and in addition to that is having trouble sleeping. She has these really vivid nightmares and she has trouble sleeping through the night. So in an attempt to find a safe place for her to sleep at night, she finds a study that's being conducted by a local university. It's a long-term sleep study, and she decides to enroll in it, sort of to kill two birds with one stone. That is the main idea of the story. Boom, boom, boom. I feel like a lot of writers think that the storyline has to become so complicated and have twists there and here, and for them to have multiple branching storylines. And sometimes we don't need all of that. Sometimes having a really simple storyline, it's not constrictive. It does allow for creativity over this very simple, grounded storyline, which I really appreciate that, because we don't need there to be more than that for this story. So the perspective is mostly on Sarah, following her around, seeing what her daily life is like, her riding her bike from place to place to find a safe space to sleep, seeing her interact with her friends, go to school. It all seems semi-realistic, very grounded, normal seeming, kind of boring. And her character you don't really get to know until further into the film, but to me that makes more sense because she is tired all of the time. Once she starts getting involved with the study and has this new routine in her life, you do get to see more of her personality through these authentic moments with the other participants in the study, the research assistants, and her friends after she's gotten involved with it. So a lot of moves, I'm not gonna say are predictable, but they make sense for the story and the character. After she signs up for this study, then we get to the interesting part. We get to see the technology of this time period. And I know I use this example a lot, but it reminded me of It Follows, where you see small examples of advanced or different types of technology. And it's not meant to grab your attention, but it is, to me, sort of adds depth to the world that you're building with the story. So when they put them in the sleep suits, there are a lot of horror movies about sleeping and dreaming, but in this version, the design of the suit is very different. The design of the technology that they're using seems retro and advanced, and kind of reminded me of the computer station that you see in the movie Alien. A lot of flashing lights and like huge, what look like huge keyboards with symbols on them and things that you don't immediately recognize. I find that really creative and different, but also very simple. We don't have to go over the deep end with this because the technology that's not what the story is about. The story is about Sarah and her experiencing these really vivid nightmares. Speaking of which, the opening sequence is so disturbing in a very different way. Now, immediately right afterwards is a view of Sarah waking up. So we're assuming that the first opening sequence that we're seeing is what she was seeing in her dream. It's completely in grayscale. So at first it's very disorienting because you don't know, you can't orient yourself, you don't know where you are, And at first it sort of reminds you of space until you start to see shapes come into focus. And you are consistently moving forward, almost like you're moving through a doorway, from one doorway into another, each space looking different. And I love that choice, because if these sequences had been in color, they would have been really distracting. Because everything is in grayscale, you're focused on textures and shapes, the elevations of things. You're trying to orient where you are in the space compared to the size or the scale of other objects in the space. Very interesting. It holds your attention because you're like, what is going on? In the sleep study, Sarah's still having these sort of nightmare images. It seems like once she got involved with the study that they became worse, and she started having a hard time truly resting while she's asleep. So she'd be falling asleep during class, she'd be falling asleep while she's doing other tasks. And as things escalate, she starts to become more frantic to find an answer. And so she reaches out to the research assistants that are running the program to find out what it is that they're seeing. What are they learning? She finds out that they aren't just observing their bodies while they're asleep. They're observing their dreams, and they're able to record it, which is just like, what? There are other revelations that tie into that make this an amazing sort of idea, the bigger idea about dreaming and what is the nature of dreams and nightmares and what is the nature of a nightmare. And I like when movies sort of challenge your understanding of an everyday occurrence. We all sleep, we all dream. I found that really interesting. As her symptoms become more and more severe, she starts sleepwalking. And then there is this moral question for the research assistants. How far do they let this go with her? Because her case is different from the other participants and they're learning so much, but where do you draw the line? The location where all this is set is very normal seeming. So this could be anywhere USA. It's an urban setting. We go into the suburbs a couple of times, but there's nothing that's out of the ordinary. I think she goes into a laundromat. She goes into a library. I love the various locations. She's sitting at her desk in class. It really fills out this world that doesn't seem so far from a modern urban area. There are small stylistic choices that set this story apart. The way they use color, cool tones of blue and green and purple, but not too heavy-handed, in ways that seem almost natural or organic. There's very subtle acting. It's not, demanding an Oscar-worthy performance, especially from Sarah, because she is not resting while she sleeps. So she's sort of weakened in that way. Her concept of reality becomes blurred. She cannot tell the difference between her dreaming state and being awake, what is real and what is not real. And very slowly, the viewer's perception of reality becomes distorted because, like her, we cannot tell what has really happened and what is just a dream, what is just some residue from a nightmare that she's having, and what is actually happening in their world, in their reality. I thought the movie was very good. I say all that to say, I thought the movie was very good. I love the sound design, very creepy, very weird, sort of remind me of Dune. I would give this a 4 out of 5. Highly, highly recommend it, especially if you enjoy the technology part of science fiction movies, not necessarily just robots and cyborgs. So yeah, thank you guys so much for spending your time with me. I so appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time.